And this is what we have coming up. 13.1 kilometres against the clock, but in team format. It's a team time trial today, warming up for the TTT at the beginning of the Vuelta España on the roads of Barcelona. Here we are in Castilla, though, starting in Oña and finish in Poza de la Sal. Beautiful, beautiful start town here. Oña, very small town. Just 15 teams here to start the Vuelta Burgos. Today, first team is going to go off in 6 minutes' time, just under 6 minutes' time. That will be Electro Hiper Europa. Each team will be separated by 5 minutes of a gap. 6 Spanish riders, 1 from Netherlands, that being Alex Molinar. Here we go. And this is where you have to trust those holding you up behind, get a calm start, make sure you get on the way. But Electro Hiper Europa seem to have organised themselves nice and quickly here, Matt.
Yep, straight out the blocks, as you can see, very narrow. They'll have had that discussion, who's going to lead things up. Just hold on to your hats as they navigate these very narrow streets. But they're soon out, as you said, it was ever so slightly dropping back onto the road. And this is going to be pretty much near a maximal effort. A little bit longer than a prologue. Most prologues are under 9k, but this is flat out. And they've got a gentle tailwind that's going to be helping them all of the way. This today we rode from south to north. This time we're riding from north to south in a gentle meandering southwesterly direction, and that is the direction of the wind. The wind is coming from the northwest, and it's primarily through some valleys, popping that last little kick up to the line. So right now they're looking pretty drilled, and already the first man on the front swung off, team time trial-esque, and will drop in to the back there. And that's the hardest point. You've made your effort, there's a little bit of recovery, and then there's that little bit of a spike where you have to kick to get back in contact, and back in contact, should I say, and back into the slipstream.
I'm just looking at those narrow streets in the start, and you referred to it straight away as there was a slight lefts and rights, the twists and turns, being attentive. I would imagine that most of the teams have a plan, that they will have one rider who they want to guide them through that, and then as soon as they come out of town, which is rather quickly, took the riders about 30 seconds, didn't it, there, to get onto the open road, that's when you'll have your first change. Yeah,
definitely. And given the relatively short, well, the very short length of this team time trial, the turns on the front will be shorter to keep the speed high, so slightly shorter turns on the front. And you can see for this smaller team, a mix of TT machines as well. Many of the continental teams won't be riding a lot of time trials, so as you can see, there's a mix of equipment here. As we move on to the pro teams, the second division teams, and of course our World Tour teams, of which there are 8, you'll see a uniformity in terms of the equipment. But again, they're doing a reasonable job here at the moment. Nobody seems to be struggling, although they certainly will be suffering. There's a difference between suffering and struggling, but they're looking pretty uniform. But as you can see, they're doing about 15-20 seconds on the front only to keep that speed high. And the key, Rob, of a team time trial is to keep a high speed, but importantly, an even speed. It's about smooth and fast, not staccato up and down. So it's about keeping that speed high and drilling it on the front. And right now, although we're in the very early stages, this is a pretty impressive display from the squad.
I don't think we're going to get any time references along the way, no, by the way, unfortunately. So we're going to have a bit of a surprise to see how everybody's going. It will be when we come into the final kilometre, we get the clock up. So that's where the drama is going to be created today. We're going to have to go off look and feel to see how people are looking. The minute, it's amazing how quickly you get used to things with technology, isn't it, Matt? These are all modern-looking skin suits and helmets. And just looking at the bikes, though, you said they're different bikes each time. These are bikes with rim brakes on them as well. And we've got used really quickly, even on time trial bikes now, to seeing disc brakes.
Yeah, well spotted. There's different chain sets as well. I mean, some of these frames, and I say this respectfully, time trial kit for a smaller team is very expensive. You look at multiple 2 or 3 bikes per rider, spares, and actually having time trial kit for a lower division team actually comes at the expense of the squad, and they might have these bikes for several years, and that's what we're seeing. But they're doing a good job. But yeah, you don't see that many bikes now with rim brakes. Rim brake bikes are a couple of years old now. Some of them are integrally built as well. So they're proprietary brakes built into the frame, either underneath the bottom bracket, into the forks. But most bikes now, most new bikes come, as you say, with disc brakes. But a Kern Farmer up next. That little bit of a dig in the crosswind yesterday, didn't they, which was quite impressive.
Well, we're stepping up to second division here. Equipo Ken Farmer are a pro team. Just to finish your point there about the equipment, I would say that for a third division team that isn't going to compete in the Grand Tours or anything like that, it's a waste of money investing anything in time trial kit.
Yeah, I mean, they might, again, I might be speaking slightly out, and it might be actually TT bikes owned by the riders that they've had just to wheel out here. Some might be given by the team, but by the look of the different equipment, different wheels, different frames, I would say they might actually be the riders' own bikes or loaned bikes. And they won't have that many opportunities to actually ride those. But right now, as a unit, as we gaze down on the second team off, I think they're riding pretty well. But we should see speeds today with that tailwind in excess of 55 k's an hour, I think.
Wow. Here we go, we're off. A little bit of looking around there, left and right. Not quite as confident that start as we saw from our first team off.
Well, the first man off the front can't quite tell who that is at the moment as they pass through the thread they through the narrow streets before we get onto the main road. That was quite a sharp acceleration, and the worst place to be here is the man in second position, because rather than being sheltered from the man in front, you're having to put out the same power, and then he swings off and you've got to keep going. So keeping tight is the key here, and already there's a few gaps opening. So I would say, if I'm going to be overly critical here, Rob, that was a little bit too hard a start. What you want to do is make sure the rider behind has as much shelter as possible before he then takes his turn on the front. Then he's not gassed, and he can maintain that speed as he moves through. So they've finally got it in. They're all dialed. And again, one of the skills in team time trialling as well, Rob, is while they're on the skis, on those bars, is getting as close to the wheel in front as you can. Remember, they're nowhere near the brakes at that point. And that's why this is an important discipline to practice if you're going to be looking at winning them, taking valuable seconds in the Grand Tours. But I tell you what, it can be quite nervy on the wheel, on the skis, because it's all about trust. You've got to trust the rider in front as well as your ability, because it's only, well, that split second difference of being on the skis and on the drops can be crucial when it comes to making those split decisions.
Well, with Electro Europa, our first team up on the road. Each and every team separated by 5 minutes today. They've got each and every one of their 7 riders here of Electro Europa. Last off today because they had the worst place rider in the general classification. Well, their best rider was the last, if you got what I mean. That means that UAE Emirates will be off first, Spora Hansgrohe, second Movistar, third from last. Just order of team classification, isn't it? And then we get the leader jersey off in last place. Pardon me.
I'm just re-going through the rules about the who's going to be the man to finish. It's either 5th or 4th. I'm just going to double check that for you, Rob. And I'm just reading through.
Can vary by race, can't it?
It can. Oh, definitely.
To get that check. This is halfway point now for Electro Europa. Just on this little bit of elevation. The main change in elevation comes in the final 2 kilometers, which are more or less entirely uphill. You can hear the shouting and chatting. Road's fairly quiet today, they're able to hear each other. Oh, hello. What's happened here? That's a wide swing off to the left. I thought we had one rider on their own then.
I thought he'd either attacked or been dropped, but no, that was quite an aggressive swing off. They can use all the road here. We've got this right turn coming up in a minute, 10 k's to go for Equipo Ken Farmer right now. Looking pretty decent. You can just see really good indication of how tight and how fitted these skin suits are. The sun's actually reflecting off the fabrics. There's a real sheen. The amount of R&D and research and innovation that's gone into just the fabric type and the way that the air passes over these suits is quite fascinating. The amount of energy that can be saved, that's a massive part of time trialing now. Aerodynamics, as we know, is something we always talk about, but interesting to see that, just to show how fitted they were, almost like a vulcanized surface on the riders there as the sun was reflecting off. And quite often those skin suits, pretty hard to get into. You generally need a teammate to give you a hand.
One-use jobs as well, a lot of them, aren't they? Certainly the more expensive kind.
Yes, they are indeed.
Talking about the very top teams. Eolo Cometa. Not really a discipline they've really excelled in since they came onto the scene again. priorities in budget will be very different for this team. Spanish heart, registered in Italy. Contador Basso running the team. Jesus Hernandez is the sports director here. Yesterday, Francesco Galazzi had a crash, but he's okay. He's back on his bike today and ready to continue towards the end of his season. The end of his career, the end of his season.
Well, I can confirm it's the fourth rider, Rob, to cross the line. Just wanted to double check that. Quite often it can be the fifth when we've got teams of 8, but teams of 7 here, it's actually the fourth rider to cross the line. So they can afford then to use riders before that climb to really burn off, to give them that real momentum. Some teams might keep 5, but a lot of the teams will specifically use riders to do that extra effort. And it's easier to coax and to rub with 4 riders up a finish like that than 5, depending, of course, on who they are. But it's easier to get that last man across the line as we see this squad off. So, yeah, 4th rider to cross the line. So a lot of teams, we've seen teams in the past finish almost complete, but teams that are really focused will make sure that on certain parts of the course that certain types of rider will do a longer turn. So the heavier riders might do a turn on the downhill to keep that momentum going, or on the flat, the lighter riders do a turn on the front, giving the heavier riders a chance to rest. And more we're seeing certain effort levels being given to riders in an individual time trial. It's far more complex in the team time trial, but lots of work does go into it, because these are important differences, especially when we look at a Grand Tour. As we look at a little bit of suffering going on the back here, you can just feel his pain here, Rob. Elbows out, latches back onto the back there. Oh, that's so hard when you've done that turn on the front. You drop back, you can afford that little bit of rest dropping down, but then lifting it up. You just heard that, ale, and he's done.
That's it. Yep, that is the rider from Mallorca, Johnny Ben Nassar. Spent a lot of time on the track in his career. He's been involved in the team pursuit winning team for the Balearic Islands in the Spanish National Championships, but, well, that's it. Just another 3Ks to go. He's off the back. There's one other rider strong to hang on. That was Jose Maria Martin, and no surprise, he was in the breakaway yesterday.
Yeah, sore legs. Look at that. Just look at the effort it takes. I think the rider that's just been dropped had done a long turn on the front. They're just under 3Ks to go, and the speed they're moving, about 2.5Ks to go now as we look at the Equipo Kern Farmer. But this is where you'll start to have riders on the front. They might do a double turn as hard as they can and then swing off, and they're done. And 1 or 2 riders might actually try and do another turn, but it didn't look like that was going to be possible. But you can see they're almost sprinting. This is pretty much maximal effort here.
They're already down to 6 riders as well, Equipo Kern Farmer there. They do have the former Spanish national time trial champion, the young man Raul Garcia Pierna, who competed in the under-23 Worlds in Stirling last week. In Scotland. In the meantime, the opposite end of their effort, you have Eolo Cometa, just 2.5 minutes in.
It's a real purist discipline, this. I actually quite like it, Rob. I know a lot of people don't really see the point in it. And I think in the modern era you could argue that point, but in terms of a spectacle, I actually think it's quite beautiful. The craft involved, the technology involved. But even if you strip away the technology, just the ability to ride in formation, trying to get the maximum you can out of a collective, I think is actually quite pure. Everybody collectively riding together, hurting each other in the process. But the science, the further you drill down into team time trial discipline, the more interesting it becomes. But I'd be quite keen for everybody to just ride on road bikes, you know, so it's just a completely level playing field. Every now and again you had to work like a team time trial just on road bikes, and we do see those when we have team time trials or even time trials in far-flung parts of the world where you can't take that infrastructure with you. You quite often see that.
Well, here are Kern Farmer giving the latest instruction as to the road furniture. Rider's not done a turn for a while here on the back. Row number 107, that's Hugo Asnan. 5Ks to go. Down to 6 riders from 7, and Asnan just looks like he's hanging in here.
It does, and he might be just used for the climb. This is a primarily flat circuit. It's fast, it's flat with a tailwind. If you were a lighter rider and just look at his physique, just look at his size compared to the rest, on a flat bit of road, this sort of terrain, he won't be able to generate the same power simply as the other rider, so he has to sit on. Him just going to the front, he could probably just blow. So right now, they might be saving him to set the tempo on the climb. So he's doing a good job at the moment, but this isn't uncommon to see certain types of rider either do one turn, miss one, then another turn, or sit on completely, especially when you've got some bigger units forcing the pace, because it's almost impossible for a rider of that stature to match the raw power of the riders in his team.
A couple of strong riders in this team for this discipline: Sanchez, Battistella, Romo. The last 2 times we've had a team time trial in this race, this team's been the winning team. It's a very different team though now, is Astana, Kazakhstan. We're on the countdown to 15 seconds. 2015 and 2016, they were the winners here. Let's see how they get on today. 4th of 15 teams about to take the start.
Oh, he's very nervous. Really, really is. There you go. That was quite. It was almost formation cycling. There was like that was almost like a Mexican wave, wasn't it? The first rider was let off. That actually looked briefly quite artistic. But anyway, they're on their way. And generally it will be the rider on the left-hand side. As you just pointed out, Rob, I don't think I quite finished that, answering your question. Yes, there will be. It's not just random. There will be a rider that's tasked with being first, second and third. They will drop into a formation. And quite often, depending on the course, that is based on your TT ability. It's also what they'd want to do is a rider with the power, especially in a short time trial like this, to get them up to pace quickly. So you might use one of your bigger riders to get them up to speed as quickly as possible and then start to hold it. So there will be an order, but as you get deeper into the race, of course, sometimes the order can be played with a little bit. And also in terms of getting shelter from a rider behind, that's something that they'll think through as well. So it's the amount of power a rider can put out, their TT prowess, and also their size and stature in relation to the rider behind.
Waiting for the 4th rider here. There's a lot of looking around up this hill, blowing, struggling. Electro Hyper Europa, all the effort, and it's coming to pieces in the final 500 metres.
Yep. This is what we talked about before, Rob. There's no point in the other road. They need to wait for him. They're accelerating away. They need to wait for him, look behind, encourage him, because this isn't helping at all. They need to ease off, let him get into the little bit of slipstream that there is. He's finally managed to latch back on. And look, he's in all sorts of turmoil here, Rob.
Try not to let the side down. They've hurt themselves, they're struggling. If you're not suffering, you're not doing it right in this discipline. It looks like a 16:39.2.
Oh my gosh, look at it, he's just got off his bike.
Over the line, and wow.
Has he got on? They've not crossed.
Well,
he's not crossed the line yet.
The timing stopped.
There.
I wonder if that is the line, because the timing stopped. Let's have a look.
Yes,
he's certainly just cramped up. That looks like the finish line to me, even though the arch is further up. Well,
I've not seen that before. I mean, it just shows how deep riders will go in this, especially if you're not a great time trialist or you're a lighter rider. I don't think I've ever seen anybody in such a state of distress, Rob, at the end of a team time trial. But there you go. It is a horribly brutal discipline.
Here we go. Keep your eye on this. And we think that that's the line. They stopped there. It looks as though they've been told that that is the finish line.
Yeah.
And the rider behind just about gets across. He is across. And ouch. There's just nothing left.
It's an interesting one, Rob, but you know how deep riders can go in individual time trials. There's another physiological place, or sorry, psychological and therefore physiological place that you take yourself to in a team time trial, because it's not you that's dictating the pace, it's somebody else. So it can take you beyond what you'd ordinarily do to yourself. Obviously, some of the best time trialists in the world can take themselves to this very strange, horrible place, and that's what sets them apart from the rest. But in a team time trial, it's about not letting your teammates down. You have to follow, despite almost, well, you're essentially torturing yourself. So that's why they are feared by a lot of riders, because of this awful place that quite often you have to take yourself to.
A place called pain. Javier Romo, former duathlete at the back, wearing number 66, Spanish rider for Astana, Kazakhstan. Just alongside him, Joe Dombrowski, American rider, the winner of a stage in the Giro d'Italia a couple of years ago. Bahrain victorious, the next, guided by Neil Stevens in the car, long-time Spanish resident. Big news today involving the team. It's been rumoured for a while, but Landismo is now going to be alive elsewhere. Mikel Landa is off to join Soudal Quickstep at the end of this season.
Yeah, interesting move, isn't it? To one would imagine to bolster the Tour de France ambitions of a certain Remco Evenepoel, and maybe putting to bed some interesting rumours that we've had that have been floating around in relation to Remco's team for 2024. Maybe more about that later.
Well, you'd hope so if you were Soudal Quickstep and Mikel Landa having signed on the dotted line.
Exactly.
Countdown on then for Bahrain victorious. No Spanish riders for them here at this race this year. They were away racing at the Torpeyo Bilbao, of course, doing fantastically well to win that stage. And Bahrain victorious off here with Buitrago, Caruso, Gradek, good time trialist, Keplinger and Pernsteiner, with Sütterlin, who'll be good at this discipline, with the likes of Zambanini as well. 4 riders coming to the line here for Kian Farmer. They're going to take over a minute out on the team they just beat. Now, this is strange because the time kept going there. I'm confused here.
Yeah, I think with all said and done, Rob, I think it's going to confuse some of the teams, unless they've been told that that finish line is there, but we shall see. Yeah, I think it's fair to say it's a slightly ambiguous finish in relation to the effort. But there we go. A good time by Ken Farmer.
Looks as though they took over a minute out on Electric Per Europa, who, by the way, rode at 47.2 kilometres per hour for the 13.1 kilometres.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see some of the bigger teams take even more. They'll be well over 50 k's. And I said 55, maybe because of the technical nature, it's going to be slightly slower than that. Will be more like 53. But I know we can see Astana on the road, Rob, but looking back to the way that Bahrain victorious rode out, did you see the way there was no gaps? The rider in front glanced around and made sure the next rider's on the wheel and then just picked up the speed. There's a real difference in style. Of course, Bahrain victorious, super dialed, very experienced at this sort of discipline, and making sure that they were super tight from the very off.
And these 6 riders together here on the shot.
I wonder what's happened there.
Well, we didn't get any news of any non-starters.
No.
I was trying to think back to the start line if we could see all 6 riders there.
It did look like there were 7 actually, Rob. I'm not, unless somebody's had
7
a bit
riders,
of difficulty.
I should say, yes.
Yeah, sorry, but interesting one. And when he matched them up against the other bigger teams in this race, he could do a good ride. That's not exactly optimum. Slightly less opportunity, of course, for recovery. So when you drop down in front, let's have a look at how long roughly they're doing the front. So it's about 10 or 15 seconds. So short turns on the front. It means you can maintain that intensity and have a bit of recovery.
Rainer Keplinger was the rider who was missing there, by the way, number 34 from that starting 7. Well, with Primož Roglič, who's no stranger to this, individual and team, this is what he's good at.
Yep. That's quite interesting. Look at the way that he's warming up. He's actually gone for some real, although he's changed now, they'll have a very specific warm-up, which is about 20 to 25 minutes long. And quite often it involves low cadence, high torque work. It looks quite unusual. And then you'll spin the legs for a bit. And as you'll see, they've got these demisters as well. Essentially, it's an air conditioning unit, but with water firing through the back as well, being fed through a fan. Because it is very warm.
Yeah, keeping the humidity up rather than the dry air that might get to the back of the throat, I would imagine.
Yeah, making sure they keep that cool. It's a strange thing, isn't it? They're trying to warm up, but not too much. So they need to make sure they're optimal. So on one hand, they're warming the body up. On the other hand, exactly at the same time, they're cooling it down. And they've got ice vests on as well. It's very easy for the body to overheat, but they need to make sure the muscles are warm, the cardiovascular system is ready to go off the blocks. because in a time trial like this, you can't warm up on the road. You don't for any team time trial, even if it's 40 odd Ks, but even more importantly, there's no real time to bed in. You're in, and within 30 seconds and out the town, you're pretty much up to riding at threshold, or just over threshold, over threshold, under for a team time trial this short.
Confirmation of Equipo Kern-Pharma's time, 15:27, with a 50.8 km/h average. We've had 2 teams to finish. Next over the line will be Eolo Cometa. I can tell you they're continuing their approach to the final kilometre, going uphill right now towards Poza de la Sal. Back to the start, a team that are very good at this. They have a great history with this. Do they have their strongest team here for this discipline? Not sure, but they certainly have a very, very good history. Caicedo, Camargo, Cepeda, Cucalera, Kudus, with Quinn, who's got the white jersey on. At least he would do. He's the best young rider. Looks as though he's in his team skin suit for this one.
Yeah, he is. Again, which is unusual, but I think, well, clearly some riders may opt for their own skin suit because they're aerodynamically superior, and also sometimes in these smaller races they might not have a skin suit in that colour. We'll see when it comes to the final, the leader of the race, Milano, and also for the King of the Mountains as well. So maybe for this one, for the team time trial, they're going to ride in their own skin suits. Again, for some of the smaller races, this indeed is the case. All riders are given a bit of a choice. As we look at Eolo Cometa, again, one rider down here, just off the back there.
Proving really difficult to keep everybody together, and they're not going to get anywhere near Equipo Kern-Pharma. Makes sense in terms of where Kern-Pharma are. They, of course, are going to the Vuelta España. Imagine that they have practiced the discipline a little bit.
Definitely.
Eolo Cometa not having to do this too much. It's Bais who's leading them up the hill here, trying to get 4 to the line together. And it's going to be ever so slightly quicker than Electri per Europa. They stopped the clock at 47 seconds down. 7th place out of 3 teams. 2nd place out of 3 teams so far.
Yeah, solid performance, but yeah, best part of the minute, really. 47 seconds slower. We would have expected, really, Eolo Cometa to have perhaps beaten Confirm. They did look good. They looked very dialed early on. But it's a complicated finish, this one. It really is.
Yeah, Kern-Pharma, again, let's not forget, former Spanish national champion. Need to be ready for this discipline for the Vuelta. Although, I can't imagine that this is their finalised Vuelta lineup. I imagine there's quite a few riders to come in, looking down at the names. Yeah,
definitely. A lot of the teams here, I mean, I think the team with the most riders that are going to the Vuelta amongst the big teams, Jumbo and UAE, with half of their lineup confirmed for the Vuelta.
Back with Bahrain victorious, and Kepling is the man missing. Pernsteiner here. This can't be something he enjoys too much.
I wouldn't have thought so. Again, a very talented climber. Again, looks like he did do a turn on the front there. It was clearly feeling good, but just, he's slotting in. So he's happy to do his turn, which is good. As we look at our first glimpse from the air, EF Education, easy post, swinging off. They do look pretty dialed here, don't they? But as you say, I do agree, there certainly isn't a formation that you would imagine would excel at the team time trial, especially on a flatter course. Mostly climbers here, apart from Quinn, Cucalera really, and Steinhauser. So again, they've got to really make sure that they keep all of their GC riders at the front as well. So this is the slightly paradoxical thing. Arguably the weakest team time trial riders are all the riders that are going to be up there overall in the end. So they have to really think about how they pace this one and how they look after everybody. So it's such an intriguing discipline. Although saying that, though, as we're moving into an era, Rob, aren't we, that I think it's fair to say there are still some riders that are pure climbers, but more and more riders are just versatile. They're just good bike riders who can climb, aren't they? So I don't think we're in the days now in the 1980s when you had like the Colombians, the pure climbers. I think that class of riders is becoming more rare, and riders are becoming more adept and more complete athletes, I think. So I still think you need to mention it, that there are riders who favour the climbs, not quite as powerful, but more and more we're seeing the Venn diagram of abilities kind of narrow, and everybody's in the sort of, they're just more versatile generally.
You see it in all elite sport, you have to be able to do anything. We talk about the football now, the goalkeeper's requirement to play the best passes and keep the ball at their feet, rather than just stop the ball with their hands. In cycling, you can't. There's no passengers, are there? You can't carry too many people in a team.
No, definitely not. Kudus just slips through to the back.
Yeah, well, 7 riders still here.
Looking pretty drilled at the moment. Yeah, the man that knows the time trial discipline very well is one of the DS's, TJ Van Garderen, alongside Tom Southern. So he'll have got them thought about, looked at the course. They've done a couple of recons, told them how to ride it, but ultimately on the day, it's all about the legs as well. Especially this super fast effort as well. Sorry, mate.
I'll tell Euskadi about the start. Never been a team to write home too much about the time trial. They won't be good at the Vuelta España, unfortunately. Not selected this year. Much to their disappointment, and understandably so. They're off. And let's see what we can expect. It's a good, young collection of riders. Not all of them from the Basque Country anymore. Jambao, Carlos Canal, and a couple of others hailing from elsewhere. Now we're back with Astana, Kazakhstan. 5 riders together here, being led by Luis Leon Sanchez. Time to get the clock up. It's going to be tense, it's going to be tight, but not tight enough. 5 seconds slower than Kern Farmer.
That's a surprise. That is a surprise. Well, it's a solid performance, 5 seconds shy, but beaten by Equipo Kern Farmer with the quality. I mean, looking down the team that they have, that's a strong team, Rob. That's a very strong Astana lineup for this race. Just shows how well the Keep Kern Farmer went. And just go back to the point you were talking about. They've got riders like time trial champions, some riders who do well on the track. This shorter effort will suit that sort of rider a little bit more, who can ride for a shorter period of time at a higher intensity. Team time trials are hard across the board, but the shorter ones, arguably even harder, because you have to maintain that super high speed. And just look at the faces of the riders that have crossed the line there. They've gone exceptionally deep.
Riders who historically have been bunch sprinters have been pretty good at this discipline, haven't they?
Oh, definitely. Well, they can generate. I mean, there's some previous bunch sprinters. I've got a bit of brain fog in terms of pulling out any names, but you are quite right. Those sorts of riders.
What about Mark Cavendish? I think he's been excellent in this discipline.
Oh, yeah, he has been. No, you think that the bunch sprinters in team time trials would just be passengers, but what they can do is just these big, strong efforts on the front, swing off and recover and just go again, and it does suit them pretty well, especially on a flatter course. They do provide an integral part of what goes on. And when you think about the lead-out trains as well, as the riders swing off, there are striking similarities, especially in the short time trial. And some of the big sprinters have to be able to generate the sorts of speeds that you do in a team time trial. 60, 70 k's an hour for 7 or 8 k's in the end of a big stage race for a big bunch sprint. So it's not uncommon for those riders to quite like the team time trial discipline and be very effective at it.
Just over halfway now for EF Education Easy Press. 7.5 minutes in. Matt mentioned that it's a fast, quick-fire time trial, this. Around the streets of Barcelona is going to be fascinating, isn't it, technically?
Yeah, quite often on the dry roads, although we haven't seen any of that. We've seen in the past that the dry roads, especially in Spain, that they get this film of dust over the top, so you've got to be really careful in roundabouts and stuff like that. But thankfully, none of that sort of obstacle here. It's generally just a couple of right and left turns, some little chicanes, but primarily relatively narrow country roads here. It's a good test, actually. Really is. 5.4 k's to go, and not totally flat. There's just little ripples, so the riders will be changing gear up and down. Plenty of warnings as well for the riders as the road narrows here. That is really good to see. Massively important, especially when you're maxed out. You want to see these clear instructions of what's ahead, and of course the DSs in the team car behind will be relaying that information to the riders too.
Standing so far look like this. 4 teams across the line. Equipo Kern Pharma and Astana quicker than the rest, 5 seconds between them, and it's the Spanish team from Navarra, from Pamplona, who are in the lead.
Yeah, just a shade under 51 k's an hour for Equipo Kern Pharma at 50.973. So I think we will see a team maybe do 52 k's an hour here. Only takes 30-40 seconds for the speed over the shorter distance for actually to increase the average speed quite a lot. But yeah, they're going to be pretty happy with that, putting away Astana and Yola Cometa.
Next of our second division teams is ready to go. They're from Switzerland, the Q36.5 cycling team. 7 riders lined up as we go to the 4 who are finishing here, and we're going to have new leaders. This looks pretty good from Bahrain Victorious. Final swing over to the line. They should make this line quicker than Kern Pharma, as long as they keep these 4 riders together. Time's ticking on towards 15 minutes. They've got 100 meters to go from here. Caruso's the man at the front leading them on. Pernstein is still there. You can see on the right the Colombian star Buitrago as well. And across they come. 16 seconds quicker, a 15:09.7. Bahrain Victorious needing to be good at this discipline with GC ambitions at the end of the week.
Yeah, good ride. 16 seconds over that distance. They'll take that. Real solid performance there. Pernstein, one of the riders, still there as well. He's him with his mouth open. No, that's a pretty solid performance there. That should, by my rudimentary mathematics, move them into the 51.3 k's an hour margin, I think.
Zambanini, the other rider to finish with them. Zambanini, Pernsteiner, Caruso and Buitrago, the quartet to finish off. Here are the 7 riders starting for Q36.5. Breha Badilati, Brambilla, Conker, Donovan, Hausen and Roskopf. Roskopf, a strong time trialist in his own right.
Yeah, as a former national TT champion. But yeah, looking good right now in the early stage of this race. A real international flavour for the Swiss team there. 2 Italians and everybody else from different countries. That's wonderful to see. Really is. In fact, as you said yesterday, Rob, they've had a very good opening season and some interesting new signings as well for the squad for next year. Big ambitions, but in the early stages, looking pretty well drilled. And you can see, because of these short turns on the front, at any one time, there are actually 2 riders moving down the outside. So just as the rider that's swung off now reaches the back, which is about now, unless he's going to do a double turn, it's almost about time for the riders to swing off when he's doing a double turn here. So some of the riders will actually do a little bit longer on the front, quite clearly. So a nice wide swing off. You can actually gain momentum by doing that, by just using the bike just to... You'd think it'd be better just to swing off narrowly, but you can actually use the momentum of the bike, like pumping on a BMX, to actually give momentum by using your body weight to throw the bike.
There was a study done recently about the aerodynamic advantage or disadvantage, about how you swung off, and I think there was a real technique and way to do it. It is fascinating when you look at, and I'm talking about the minute details here when we're talking to top teams, and the real small fraction of a second differences, certainly per kilometre. The sort of thing that this team would be looking into. They will have everything dialed down, because every second counts when it comes to the Vuelta España, to Primož Roglic and maybe even Jonas Vingegaard as well.
Yeah, definitely. Cool as a cucumber with his shades on there. Primož Roglic still carrying out their joint warm-up. Not something you see very often, the entire team warming up at the same time. A few tunes being fed through into his ears there. But no, looking at the Bahrain Victoria squad here, and back to the Jumbo-Visma team, that's an absolutely crack squad for this team, Tom Troth.
Sounds as though Keplinger had an issue with his chain. And Caruso's the man conducting the debrief. They go in the hot seat now, he said. But they were asking what happened to Keplinger, their teammate, and he was saying, well, he hit a bump and the chain went.
Yeah,
that's why they suddenly ended up with 6.
Yeah, it happens from time to time in a team time trial. I'm not too sure if they're running double chain rings here or single chain rings. It looks like they might be actually running single. So there's nowhere for it to drop off. And also, if it goes on the right-hand side, it can wrap around the pedal or the crank. But given the speed that they're travelling at, If it was a 40 or 50k time trial, you might ease off a little bit because you'll gain more than you'll lose ultimately. You average it out, you might lose 5 but gain 7, so you actually get 2. But here, given the high speeds they're travelling at and the relatively short distance, you just have to lose a man straight away. It might have cost them a little bit, but I think had they waited, it would have cost them more.
Eight teams on the road at the moment. Next to start will be Cajarural. Given their history in this discipline, can't imagine it's a team that's going to be troubling the scorers too much. They've got a couple of strong riders though, Yuri Leitao, Julen Amesqueta. Let's see how they go. Edu Prades, traditionally a second-tier sprinter. Rest of the team made up of Echevarria, who's in the break yesterday, Halim Michael, there's Murgialdai, as well as Silva Kusan.
Spanish team, of course, they'll be wanting to do, or leave it all out on the road. Again, not many opportunities to give this discipline a go. As we look at the pink-clad EF Education Easy Post, good time.
Good time, but not as good as Bahrain victorious. They're going to have to settle for second. If they can get over the line quickly, let's see. And there it is, they stop the clock 11 seconds slower. Second place provisionally for EF Education Easy Post.
It's not too bad, 11 seconds behind Bahrain. Bahrain's average, by the way, is just under 52 Ks now, 51.841. And again, looking at the squads we still have to go, and one squad in particular, or two in particular, I think we might see another 10, 15, maybe 20 seconds taken out of that time.
Keep an eye. This was the EF Education Easy Post finale. A few riders riding with the vents in their helmet there on a hot day, others choosing to go without.
It's the hot seats. You don't often see this, Rob, do you? They've got hot seats each.
Hot seats each in the middle of a town with the flags up. It's Fiesta's time in a lot of towns and villages across Spain.
Looks like they're in a bandstand. They're getting sort of some trumpets each.
Well, the idea of a bandstand, I mean, usually it's just a stage that's erected during fiestas, but there's lots of local groups, or groups that go all over Spain, called orquestas, and basically it translates to an orchestra. But I'm talking about bands who play cover versions of famous songs, and they'll be absolutely raking it in at the minute. There'll be mini buses driving all over different regions of Spain. Brilliant. Playing one fiesta one night, another fiesta another night, and certainly in the month of August. I mean, fiestas go on all year, depending on the town, whatever they're celebrating, who their patron saint is, things like that, whatever historical event happened. But certainly in August, there's a heck of a lot of fiestas, given the fact it's summer and everybody's off. So won't be surprised at the finish there in Posta de la Sal. The bandstand might be the hot seat today, and there might be an actual band on there tonight.
We shall wait and see, but yeah, they're looking pretty happy as EF take cover from the afternoon sun under the shade of a tree here. There's one of the other riders just sort of rolls through. Cucurella just finishing and wondering how far down he was. He might have actually pulled the pin a little bit early, got them to the foot of that climb.
It's easy. You'd imagine he might have been a guy for earlier on.
Exactly, just to get them up to speed, do some long pulls on the flatter section before leaving it to the GC guys and the lighter climbers. So no shame at all in that. Just because a rider doesn't manage to finish with this team doesn't mean he hasn't done what is needed to do. And quite often finishing, it's all about optimising what you've got. And if you need to finish with 4, you need to finish with 4. If you can finish with 5.5, it doesn't actually make that much difference. It's all about getting the quickest time on the day, whatever permutation you use. But of course, thinking ahead to the rest of the race, because you clearly don't want to use a guy who's going for the overall classification. So there's lots to think about. But Cucurella looks pretty happy. Certainly didn't look disappointed, so clearly he had done his job.
3.5 minutes in for Cajarural. That means we're just over a minute now from seeing Jumbo-Visma take the start. We saw Primož Roglic listening to his tunes. I wonder if, talking about cover versions, if there'll be a Roglification soon coming out. Red Hot Chili Peppers are on tour, aren't they, at the minute? He's the Olympic time trial champion. It's a new race for him to Roglify, as our esteemed colleague Daniel Freeb, I think, we can credit with this term, can turn up and do it too. He has that effect on the races he normally rates. Yesterday was uncharacteristically quiet for a first day of a race. Wasn't his terrain, though. This certainly is, and look at the team. Roglic, Geesink, Bouwman, Affini, Lemreze, Tratnik and Volter. This is a mightily strong team for a 13-kilometre team time trial. You'd imagine that they will be setting out with the aim here to win the stage today.
Yeah, to win the stage. First and foremost, to win the stage. They're about winning bike races, but secondary, not too far behind, is taking away some learnings for the team time trial, the opening team time trial of Vuelta as well. So, yeah, they want to win the bike race, but they'll take away a lot from this as well. It's roughly the same distance. It's complicated, but boy, this is there's no slack in this squad, Rob. This is a punchy team who'll be looking to win, and anything but the win today will be a disappointment.
A look behind from Affini, who starts the party. Ready at the front, that was Volter sitting on the back. In the middle, the Olympic champion in that gold bike helmet and the little gold band on the top of his skin suit, Primož Roglic. We're back to the finish line. This is Euskaltel. Not a bad ride from them. Just getting a little bit unorganised in the final few hundred metres, and they will set a 15:33.8. That's 24 seconds down on the current leaders, Bahrain victorious.
I still don't think some of these teams realise where the line is. That lad at the back there, fourth across the line, I mean, was making his effort all the way.
Sorry, Matt, I can understand why the arch is here. That's where it fits.
Yes.
But then again, if they were going to plan that, sure, they could have planned to have the finish line underneath it.
Yeah, I think that, because clearly that team were riding all the way to the gantry, not to the finishing line. But anyway, it's a small observation. I don't think it's going to change things, apart from just, unfortunately, delay the pain for the young man who's now sat on the ground. That's a real good illustration, Rob, of how deep you go in a team time trial. Are you allowed to translate that, Rob?
I am just laughing at a wonderful Basque accent and intonation. Yes, talking about how difficult that final climb was, and the fact that he was just really struggling on it.
Yeah. And here we go. Jumbo-Visma in full flight. For the riders in this squad down to do the Vuelta. They are moving very quickly. They make it look so smooth, so easy, don't they? As Affini gets back onto the skis there.
There's Geesink at the back. Roglic just drifting towards the back now.
God, you get a real sense of speed. Look at that, sorry, Rob. Look at the sense of speed you get from that aerial shot there. They are motoring along this big section, aren't they? Sorry to have cut across you there, Rob.
No, please do. Just looking at the sense of elevation you get as well, and you're talking about the speed, Matt. Here you go. Here it is in numbers: 68, 69 k's an hour. But yeah, just the sense of the false flat nature of the road as well. It's rarely pan flat here. Yeah. This is the only example I think we've seen, but on the helicopter shot we had, up and down, left and right, winding road between two small towns.
Yeah, there are some sections that come off this big main road now. Now that was a sign towards his back wheel. I don't know what that was, whether he's got an issue. As we head a little bit further up road to Cajarural, who look to be pretty well dialed here. Looks like they've got all of their complement still intact. Yep, they've still got the 7 riders. You can also hear that wonderful sound of rubber on the tarmac as well.
Just off the back here is Gees Lemreze already. 3.5 kilometres into his effort, the young man. The only under 23 in this squad, by the way, for Jumbo-Visma. They are all experienced riders.
Yeah, they certainly are. How long it takes to just close those last few centimetres, Rob. He is going to be out on his absolute maximum, but then he'll be able to take a breath. As soon as he latches or enters the slipstream of the rider just in front, he still hasn't quite made it. He might not make it now. So he now has to ride at the same pace as the rider on the front without much slipstream at all. And that's increasingly hard. He's pointing to his back wheel. I'm not too sure if there's an issue there, but he's definitely gesticulating towards his back wheel, whether there's an issue with his gears. But he's managed to latch on now.
Still all 7 together. As you were explaining early on, there's no question of waiting for anybody with mechanical issues here. It's a short time trial and they'll just have to get on with it as we go to Burgos BH, the home team. 11th of the 15 teams to start. Another team that will have to have one eye on this. Of course, they won't expect to win the stakes at the start of the Vuelta, but they will want to perform as strongly as possible in the team time trial as they go to their national tour. They're here at their regional tour. They're on their way, and the purple jerseys of Burgos BH starting out in Oña.
Yeah, they've already made their mark on this race by being a part of the breakaway with Fuentes yesterday. And a nice, even, balanced opening few metres for them.
This is Q36.5. We get the clock up and it's not going to be time to threaten the score sheets. 22 seconds down, provisionally 5th place from the Swiss team. Nobody able to budge, Bahrain victorious for now.
Yeah, the nearest team to Bahrain, still EF Education. He's opposed to 10 seconds adrift. I know, can't tell too much out the road because we haven't got those intermediate time splits because the TTT is so short. You just get a real sense of, not just of speed here, but skill. There's such a dialed unit. So many big engines here. So many specialists at the individual time trial. Some of the finest super domestiques in the world. They've absolutely got this dialed, and they will have trained together as well in this discipline, more so than some of the smaller teams. And I think Limreza has now been gapped, distanced, and they are down to 6.
Just keep an eye on that. Let's just make sure we see who the rider dropping back is.
Oh no, it's still there. Sorry, my apologies.
Limreza. Yes, I was just wondering. I thought I could see a number 5. The rider missing is Eduardo Affini, who's at the front, is he? Kuhn Baumann, I would say. I couldn't see number 3 there, and that would make sense. But they were motoring along, weren't they?
They were moving, yeah. And quite often from that low camera angle, because they're so tight and so low on their bikes, it actually can obscure them from our vision. But I think this might be my favourite shot of the team time trial. Gives you a real sense of... every single team, obviously because of the wind direction here, changing, swinging off on the right hand side. Although the wind is in their backs, it will be coming slightly from the right a lot of the time, adding to speeds. And again, I think I might have to use the word absolutely motoring again. It's like a train, aren't they? They really are. Look at the effort though of Robert Haysink as he has to, again, this is this real spike in power. He's already done his turn, he's had a brief rest. Then he needs to recover again and kick just to get back on the wheel. He's done. That's it. He's done.
Down to 5 here. By the way, we did just get our first intermediate check. That graphic up there just saying that they were quicker by about 12 seconds. As you say goodbye to Haysink, he joins who we think was Baumann to drop out earlier on. Down to 5 riders, but still with the climb to go. They will not want any more issues coming up to the finish line. They are leading at the minute. This team will be last off today. They'll know what they have to do. They also have one of the strongest teams out there on the road as well. I think looking at this, we can confirm that today there'll be nobody wearing any of the leaders' jerseys. It's all skin suits. Molano not in the purple of the race leader. And you can understand that, given this is a smaller budget, small race.
Exactly. Everybody looking pretty focused there. Adam Yates just on the extreme right. And Traknik slotting into the back wheel, such a decent time trialist, solid rider, and again clearly in good shape. It's his first race back after injury, but he's certainly looking good there. Punches such a small hole in the air. 4.5 Ks to go. I can't see them losing any more time. I'm just wondering whether they'll sacrifice one other rider and then just take forward to the finish. That remains to be seen. But right now, they don't lose anybody just yet. They want to keep as many riders as they can here, just to keep that speed as high as they can. There's a Baumann still actually there, so he slots into 5th place.
It is Lemreza who did drop off. Of course, we were looking at that, and the 3, I think, looked like a 5 when we looked at that earlier shot where we were wondering. So Lemreza the first to go. Well, they are flying. Lemreza the first to go, Hazink second to go. Baumann hanging on. They're approaching the final uphill 2 to 3 kilometres, and they'll be looking to keep this going. They are faster at the moment along the way. We can guarantee that.
Affini doing a humongous turn. Look, he's doing almost like a double turn on the front because he can. He'll have the biggest engine on a flat bit of road with a tailwind. It's all about tucking in behind him. He can just keep that pace high and also, importantly, offer up that little bit more shelter to the rider just behind as well.
As your Desert Citroën begin, talking of the roles there of the different riders, we mentioned Baumann. He is still there. I imagine looking at that with Affini on the front, Baumann's going to be important here because he's probably going to have to be the 4th rider if Affini's giving absolutely everything on the flat there.
And we know how good a climber Baumann is as well, so I'm wondering if Affini is going to do a little bit more on the flat and take him into the final 2Ks with Baumann to be the 4th man.
Caja Rural coming to the line. They bring 4 riders up here. They are led straight away to the line by Ale Michael. 25 seconds down, 7th place provisional. Seventh of 9 teams to have finished so far.
Yeah, an intelligent little glance around there as well, just to make sure. There's no point in pressing on if you're dropping the riders. You need them to be latched onto the wheel. Not too much benefit on a steep climb, but there is a little bit more of a benefit, and that's it. I think Affini is now gone, so we've just got the 4 that we were talking about here, Rob, and Baumann is going to be, well, he's going to be one of the 4. He'll just be the final man across the line where the clock is taken. 1,900 metres to go.
Jan Tratnik at the front, fit well, healthy, riding again. I'm not sure if there's a better all-round domestique in the world than Jan Tratnik when he's fit and ready to go.
Yeah, he's a super rider. And again, as we were touching on earlier on, versatile. He can ride in the high mountains. He can ride in the crosswinds. He can be involved in lead-outs. He can spend 100 kilometres on the front, and he can be active and punchy in a breakaway as well. He can win bike races as well as riding the service of others, and a really likeable character too.
World Tour time trial winner as well at the Tour de Romandie a few years back.
Exactly. Second on the Zoncolan in the Giro as well.
He's a solid bike. It's been a while in the hot seat. Get the factor 50 on if they're to sit there any longer.
I was going to say, there's a particularly hot seat on the right, on our right-hand side. It is to get back inside, but no, I think they'll be waiting nervously, knowing, I'd imagine they'll know what the intermediate time split is, and only 1,100 metres now to go for the quartet. Now, number 7 there, Attila Valter, Hungarian TT champion, of course. They're still looking very good.
1 kilometre to go. Time to beat is 15 minutes 9.7 seconds, set by Bahrain Victorious, with an average speed of 51.8 kilometres per hour. Primož Roglic with Attila Valter, Jan Tratnik and Koen Bouwman. 900 metres to go now. You can hear them talking to each other, encouraging each other. You heard the voice of one rider suffering. I can imagine that was Bouwman, who's just at the back, not coming through to take his turn here.
Yeah, definitely. The other 3 riders in front are clearly going well, so that the widest thing to do, actually, Bouwman could probably go and do 1 turn, but that would mean he's too far into the red to actually hold on. So the wise thing to do now exactly what we were talking about earlier on. The rest of the riders need to ride at the pace of Baumann in front, or flip that round. Baumann needs to ride at the same pace as these three riders, and he clearly is suffering as the road continues to ride. And we've got that last right-hander coming after this one, which takes us into the heart of the town. It's a horrible little rise.
You could just see Vuelta looking around, Vuelta checking. There's a gap in danger of opening up here. Fighting with the bike at the back is Koen Bouwman. They've got a lot of time to get over the line if they are to take the lead here. They will take the lead, I'm pretty sure about that, but let's see by how much. They were around 12 seconds up when we got our first time check of the whole broadcast so far. It is Vuelta here, the Hungarian champion. Just behind him, Jan Tratnik, then Primož Roglic. Koen Bouwman hanging on here very, very well in the end. And they're going to do this by quite some margin. It's going to be around half a minute quicker. Let's see. Roglic looks around as they go to the line. Everybody present and correct. Jumbo-Visma going supersonic in this team time trial. They stopped the clock 31 seconds quicker. Bahrain victorious are dethroned. Jumbo-Visma off to the hot seat. We now wait to see if anybody can beat them.
Yeah, some ride that was really good. Well, cracking riding by everybody. But that's going to move them into just under 53 k's an hour, I'd imagine.
Movistar team. And they're 7 strong riders ready to go. Third from last to start. 12 years since they won the team time trial here. So that's not been a regular occurrence. Only 5 times now in the space of 25 years at this race have we had team time trials. And this year, we've explained the reasoning. The Vuelta España has one right at the start on Spanish soil. An opportunity to attract big names and big teams by providing the warm-up. Here's Roglic. There's Tratnik. Welcome back, Jan.
Yeah, welcome back to bike racing. Yeah, I think they're just laughing at how hard they had to go. And I think it was actually Tratnik who was the last counter. He went particularly deep. I wouldn't exactly say Bouwman had a second wind, as we get a study of the Giro d'Italia champion, 3 times Vuelta champion, cooling down in the shade. Did you see his eyes then?
My numbers are better than yours.
Well, there we go. Fifth, oh, blimey, I was nearly right. 53.6 k's an hour, Rob.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, they looked quick, and as much as the power and the watts and everything, it was the execution as well that you picked up on early on.
Yeah, it certainly was. Just the combined might of all those engines effectively working together. There's no stone unturned at the very top end of the sport in terms of preparation, equipment, trust as well, the skill at this sort of discipline. And not only, well, we've still got a couple more teams to finish, of course. There's still a few teams out on the road, including the men in blue. Then we have Bora Hansgrohe, the penultimate team, and then UAE will be the last team off the ramp. But UAE could push them close. They have got an exceptionally good team here.
31 seconds then. A huge margin. And it's not a bad head start unless somebody can get closer for Primož Roglic when it comes to the mountainous stages.
Koen Bouwman's still recovering. Hasn't even taken his helmet off. He's still...
Chief motivator as well, Primož Roglic. And it is going to be interesting. There'll be debriefs, not just now, while things are fresh in the mind, carry on into the bus, because they've got to do this all again. A bigger team, and the team that will be selected around a more complicated course in Barcelona.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Vuelta, just the last, if we can just look at Primož Roglic. Again, the true champion. Just closing these gaps up, making sure they didn't accelerate through, just feathering the power to make sure they didn't lose that rider, the final rider, as you see the rest of the team finishing a couple of minutes down.
issues already for Movistar. That's Oyer Lascano at the back, and that's the surprise here. He's a strong time trialist. He's the Spanish road champion. Maybe he was one of the men who did the strong start for them today. Let's see.
Yep. It's also easy in these sorts of things, not easy, but there's the danger sometimes. If you do, you've got to ride hard. Like I said before, in this short distance, the turns you'll be doing at the front will be just over threshold to keep that speed high. But if you push just a little bit too hard, or a rider comes through just towards the top of a climb, they can be dangerous points where it's harder to recover from that sort of effort, or you just go a little bit too hard, and by the time you drop back a little bit too quickly and you're gassed and you can't find the power to get on the back wheel. They can be quite tricky moments, and you see more of those moments in the shorter efforts where you're putting out far higher effort, far higher power, should I say, and therefore putting yourself into the red, and it's a tricky area to navigate.
Back to the start for our penultimate team. Led by Rolf Aldag in the car. Vlasov, the GC man, with Fabro, Kemner, able to climb as well. Koretsky, Lipovic, Lures and Tony Palzer. And off they go.
Yeah, real interesting mix of riders, this squad, isn't it? Again, they should have the ability to do a very decent team time trial. Fascinated to see how well Koretsky did well yesterday, the French mountain biker coming across from that discipline. Very much like Palzer as well. They're a team that are willing to experiment with different sorts of athletes, aren't they? Which I quite like.
Burgos Beache about to finish. 4 riders to come to the line. And there we go. That'll be a 7th place provisionally, 55 seconds down. That's probably a result they're fairly happy with, actually.
That's not too bad. Under a minute shy of the biggest or the strongest team in the world. On home soil. Buoyed on by the partisan crowd, of course. But yeah, they can be pretty happy with that.
Home team are there and back in the hutch. Here are the leaders.
Jan, you really killed me, eh? You did 2 times.
I think I heard the phrase, Jan, you really killed me. I think that was Robert Hastings, wasn't it?
There is that debrief.
Well, it's really interesting hearing that sort of thing, because ultimately, if you're one of the strongest riders there, the strongest TT riders, you can actually go too hard. You can, if one rider swings off and you punch through, it can actually make it inefficient, because you'll, rather than keep it building the speed up gradually, if you punch through in a team time trial, I'm not saying that's what happened, it can be very disruptive, and ultimately the net result is you put other riders into the red and they can't deliver particularly strongly on the next turn, or the flip side is it forces other riders to do a double turn. So strong riders need to know ultimately to ride through, just do longer turns on the front and not punch through. So I'm not saying Tratnik did that, but what he certainly did, and what they did to each other, is put each other on the rack, that is for sure. As we look at Bora, again moving super fast on this very quick bit of road, approaching 70 k's an hour here.
Just one team to start then. Movistar just 1 second down after 6.8 kilometres on Jumbo-Visma, apparently. Now, that's interesting.
Tell you what, that is very, very good.
Now, once upon a time, they were very good at this, Movistar team time trial. Back in the days of Nairo Quintana going for GC, they had some of the best suits in the world, some of the best bikes in the world as well. Plenty of the best riders in the world too. But Alex Dowsett riding for them in this discipline and being really important for them. They've gone off the boil in the last few years in this discipline, it's fair to be said. Also, the discipline has gone a little bit more out of fashion, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yep.
But they're looking good here at the intermediate check anyway.
Yeah, that's a very good time. But when you look at the composition of the team here,
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, aside from Aina Rubio, who is a lighter climber, but they want to look after him, of course, for the GC when we hit the mountains later in the week. Will Barter, one of the best time trialists out there. Look at Verona, a good rouleur. You look at Cortina. We go back to what we talked about, the sprinters who can provide that power on the flat. And this is a short team time trial. They're clearly very well dialed. And the more you drill down into the Movistar team, it does make sense. They've got some powerfully built riders, a lot of rouleurs in that team as well that can generate that high-end power that you need to compete in a time trial like this. And let's be honest, Rob, Movistar have had a great year. I mean, they had an awful year last year. The last season of Alejandro Valverde, but this year they've reconfigured and they've come back almost a different team with a renewed vigour and a renewed spirit. And clearly that's carrying on. OK, we've got another 3 or 4 Ks to go, but that's a good time.
3.8 kilometres to the line, in fact. New time to beat is 14 minutes, 38.9 seconds. Travelling still with 7 riders as well at 67 kilometres per hour here.
That's a big long turn to the front by Lazcano.
Back to the start. Yates, Bennett, Molano, Novak, Oliveira, Vine, Gibbons. Now, can Molano keep the jersey? He's not wearing it today. Nobody's wearing the leaders' jerseys today. Everybody in team skin suits. As we go back to Agidas, they're not going to trouble the scorers.
No. 4 riders left, a little bit of a split in the group there as we head into finishing straight. But no, they're going to be the best part of a minute shy. Teams like Burgos, I think, are going to put time in to the French World Tour team.
Agidas there then over a minute down. Yeah, nothing to write home about.
Buffini clearly in good spirits. It's pretty much Roglic. They'll be watching the monitors closely with this squad. Movistar, 2.3 Ks to go. And as you said, Rob, as you rightly pointed out, they're one of the only teams this deep into the team time trial with a full complement. And that makes an enormous difference because the riders can do these shorter turns on the front at a higher intensity. And I think they've just spent 1 rider now. That's number 16. That's yeah, Alcasu's gone. So this has got a good performance. And they'll be aware as well. The beauty of going later is they'll know what the time is to beat. And you could argue that just gives you that extra little bit of drive, the extra little bit of impetus.
Aina Rubio left-hand side, stage winner now in the Giro d'Italia over in Switzerland. Thibaut Pinot and Alex Cepeda's best mate.
There'll be no Christmas card exchange between those 3. Great to watch though, wasn't it?
One of the moments of the season.
It was.
Back with Bora Hansgrohe. Already a little bit of a gap opening up to one rider at the back. Ooh, there's gaps all over the place here.
Yeah. It looked like somebody had swung out of the line. They couldn't hold on to the wheel, so it's forcing the 3rd rider to sew back that gap. So what you've got now, Rob, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 riders all going at or near the same speed, but and 3 of them with no shelter. And that fundamentally will just drain. This is ragged. And they won't be particularly happy with that, especially on a section like this where you need to be as dialed as you can. So they need, I've no doubt, Mr. Aldag in the team car, Rolf, will be having a word as we lose another rider now, and that's Mas, who is now gone.
Dries Mas is off and out the back. Ticking over towards 13 minutes. Movistar team coming up to 1 kilometre to go now. A reminder, it's 14:38.9. Movistar given everything. Chente Garcia Costa in the car will be happy with the effort so far, but has it come undone in the final few kilometres? Keep your eyes on this. Still there is number 13, who's Carlos Verona. Aina Rubio, we saw him as well, wearing 12. Oyer Lascano still remains as does Ivan Garcia Cortina. Cortina knows that there's a chance maybe of a leader's jersey if he can do something today, but they have to beat Jumbo-Visma.
Yeah, he'll have a 6-second advantage. Well, sorry, only a 4-second advantage, won't he? So 10.64. So a 2-second advantage over Affini, because Affini was third.
Time's ticking on, though, isn't it? I have a feeling they've slowed down considerably in the last couple of kilometres.
Yep, 38 seconds they've still got a fair bit to go. Yep, I don't think they're going to make it. Might be enough to secure.
We had the time check, didn't we, there?
Yeah.
We had the time check, Matt, and it said that they were only down by 1 second. But I think that since they've gone from those 7 riders, the team and time has started to disintegrate that little bit, hasn't it?
Yep. I think coming into the bottom of the climb, they were clearly very well dull, but it's just maintaining that momentum on this long drag to the line. It's still going to be Cortina now on the front, taking them into the corner. He might actually be the man with that punch that takes them all the way to the line. Still a respectable time, in the same finishing straight as Jumbo-Visma. It's not going to be the win.
Yeah, the time ticks on, so Cortina can't take the leader's jersey today. It stands to be Affini. No, Affini didn't finish, did he, at the same time? There we go, 19 seconds down from Movistar. Certainly stands to be one of the Jumbo-Visma riders at the moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. It looks like it's Barta. They've lost Rubio, which for the overall is an interesting one, unless they're just focusing on stage wins. Quite an interesting one.
Now, this is Rubio at the front, isn't it?
Is it? Is that not Barta? It might be Rubio, not Barta. Maybe it is Rubio. Sorry, my apologies.
We'll wait to get that look.
Yeah, I know it's Rubio, not Barta. I thought that would have been a strange one. Yep.
Looks around.
Certainly. Yeah, my mistake there, Rob.
Sore legs, sore everything right now. Ivan Garcia Cortina there. There is Soir Lascano. New suits, new bikes developed by Canyon as well in the time trial sense recently. And now we are back with Bora Hansgrohe at the intermediate check. Was 6 seconds down on Jumbo-Visma, for the 5 seconds back on Movistar. This is Bora Hansgrohe heading into the final part of their time trial effort now.
Yeah, down to 4. Down to 5 are UAE Team Emirates. Still moving very quickly though.
Interesting though, isn't it? Down to 5 already, just 6 minutes in.
Yep. I'm not too sure if that would have been in the plan. As Bennett is the last man in the group. Again, another illustration of how hard a rider has to go to get back into the back wheel. A full-on sprint there for the New Zealander. Just at the top of that climb, back on the wheel, as the pressure continues to be applied in the front. And as Carno continues to cool down. Can take a while, Rob, to compose yourself after an effort like that. You go extraordinarily deep. But still a good time,
doesn't want to see his teammates for the minute, though.
No, it's just...
So UAE Emirates. Let's see if we can have a look at who is left.
It's definitely Yates at the back, isn't it?
His stature. So that is Yates, number 21. We've seen Bennett still there as well.
You can imagine that Jay Vine would still be there as well. But again, from this shot, they're very similar. It's difficult to say, but I imagine that Vine would be there.
That is Molano.
Yeah, the thicker set of the septet.
Now looking at him, this could either be Gibbons or Oliveira. Again, we can't see the number just yet. In fact, that is Gibbons. Gibbons is 27. So Gibbons, Yates, Bennett, Molano definitely there. Down to 5.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Vine wasn't there. That would certainly be a disappointment if he isn't, as we head back to Bora Hansgrohe, just on the outskirts of the town. That's where the road gently starts to rise now. The shots earlier on of Movistar just showed us how hard that climb actually is, even the lower slopes, but also shows how quick they were going on the earlier part of the course for the speeds to be well in excess of 50 k's an hour. But this is where the road just starts to not exactly gently rise up.
They're in danger here, aren't they? It's been a disjointed performance, and looking around to Paltzer here, who's looking down. Movistar were a bit further up the road at this point. They were inside the Flamme Rouge when the time had ticked by 14 minutes.
Yeah, this is where they've got to be disciplined and try and you'll get the encouragement coming through the headphones of the team car for Paltzer behind, but also sends the other guys, just go easy, let him get back on the wheel again. The longer you press on the front, and the longer it will take for the man to get back onto the wheel. And here we are in the closing stages. Paltzer, they need to just, there's constant looking around. There's no doubt about the effort from Paltzer, but he just can't match the pace of the four in front. It's Vlasov that takes them into that corner.
Now there's a chance maybe to sneak ahead of Movistar, but it's a very, very difficult one to take because Paltzer is suffering. They're slower than Jumbo-Visma, and they're going to be slower by 20-odd seconds. They're slower than Movistar. This is a little bit of a disappointment maybe for Bora Hansgrohe. It's no huge disaster, but it's certainly a head start for Roglic and Jumbo-Visma, isn't it? 30 seconds down.
Paltzer is almost, he can't get to the top of the climb. He's absolutely ridden himself to a standstill there, and one of several riders who've done that today. Most of the time it's been the fourth man. So that just shows how hard it is, and also how relatively easy it is sometimes for the riders in front when they have to feather it off. But look at that. That is a man who has gone exceedingly deep, and something you do not see very often. But that is the nature of team time trialing, especially when they finish on a climb, Rob.
Ouch.
Yep. It's like he's been tortured by his teammates, basically, Rob.
Left it all on the road. As we got a first look in this direction at beautiful Poza de la Sal.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Stuck to the bottom of the hill there. Again, we're high up on the plateau, finishing at just under 800 metres to theirs. There's applause for Tony Paltzer. And we're waiting for one team to finish. Only one team can take it to Jumbo-Visma, and that is UAE Emirates. As it stands, it's Jumbo-Visma leading by 19 seconds from Movistar, by 29.5 seconds from Bora Hansgrohe, with Bahrain victorious in fourth place, and Kern Farmer standing tall in fifth. What's left here? Well, 4 riders is the answer. Time ticking on, and I think this is quick.
Yep. It certainly is. It is George
Bennett's
Bennett on
there.
the back. Yeah.
Yates at the front, Vine in second position, and still remaining as well is Ryan Gibbons. So we're going to have a change of lead or whatever happens.
Yeah, we certainly are. It's a good ride by Ryan Gibbons. Really is, again. Good sprint himself. A quality lead-out rider, but has got the punch for this sort of ride. And it looks to be Bennett who's the man in a little bit of distress. He cannot keep on the wheel. So Bennett starting to struggle here, and was on the radio there. Did you see that? He just pinched, speaking on the radio, guys, ease up here.
And he's struggling, yeah. Head down, trying to bury himself to get back in touch, and they need to realise quickly, because it's going to do none of them any favours unless George Bennett can get, and that gap's growing instead of closing. It's been a strong ride, but perhaps too strong for George Bennett here.
This is what it's all about. Good performance by the team up to this point. Still strong, but they have to ease up. They need to just have the discipline to back off, because all they're going to do is prolong the pain of Bennett and put him deeper and deeper into the red. He needs to be able to briefly recover, get into the little bit of slipstream that's offered up on a climb like this, and they need to carry him, nurture him through to the finish. This is what's so different about the team time trial discipline, especially on a profile like this.
Back in now with 900 metres to go. 4 riders here, and a reminder that 4 have to finish. The 4th rider is 22 George Bennett, former Kiwi national road champion. Experienced man, top bike rider, but suffering here through the effort.
Yeah, he's having
13:44, and it ticks on, Matt.
Oh, yeah, but he's having to recruit. The fact he's out the saddle on a big gear, he's having to recruit everything he's got. This is why we're seeing riders get in such a state of distress. He just hasn't got anything left at all.
Again, gestures for them to wait up, to go. And George Bennett once more off the back. Time is ticking on, and it's looking good for Jumbo-Visma, I have to say here.
Yeah,
14:38.9 the top time. UAE Emirates were threatening. They were threatening had they kept things up.
That's the thing. Well, it's not going to be the day for Emirates, but if they'd have continued at the pace of the 3 in front, I think they would have pushed them very close. But this discipline is all about the 4th rider across the line, and Bennett is in all sorts of distress. He's giving it absolutely everything. There's no doubt about that. He just cannot match the power of his teammates right now. He's on the skis, gives them a wave into the penultimate right-hander.
Jumbo-Visma are going to win the stage on day 2 in Burgos. UAE Emirates were ready to threaten them, but their team time trial formation went to pieces in the last 3 kilometres or so. They're going to bring 4 riders to the line, and they're going to lose 30 seconds plus on Primož Roglič and company. A 5th place provisionally at 34 seconds down. It's Jumbo-Visma who hammer the competition, and a huge step forwards towards Roglification of yet another race. It is Jumbo-Visma who take the stage by a country mile.
Well, look at George Bennett here. He has dug himself a hole. He can hardly maintain forward motion. Wow, it's not nice to see, but he could have given nothing more. That's just the way it is. There's no hiding place in the team time trial at all. And the lady there just steadying the bike. But delight and despair.
Extreme suffering for George Bennett. And the new leaders on your screen. Attila Valter will be the new leader of the Vuelta Burgos on stage 2.
It's so hard. This is, I mean, it's really hard. It's because he will feel responsible, but he couldn't do anything else, and it just shines a spotlight on how a team works, how a team look after their riders. And I mean, he's a strong lad, psychologically strong as well, but he's going to feel that.
If you want to roll, I'm happy to roll down to the bottom of the climb back up. I can't do extra good. You know who actually flicked us was Ugo. Yeah, he started a plastic turn.
Interesting listening in there, and yeah, a lot of sympathy for George Bennett. The thing is, most of the other riders, if not all the other riders in the team, have been there at some point in their careers as well.
Of course, they'll all know what it's like. I mean, George Bennett, as we know, is a classy, super strong bike rider, but today it just wasn't there. But still was the 4th rider, 3 riders further down the road, but boy, he gave it absolutely everything, turned himself inside out for the team, but today it just wasn't good enough. But that is the very nature of this different discipline.
Jumbo-Visma win the 2nd stage of the Vuelta Burgos 2023. In the roots of Castilla, from Oña to Poza de la Sal, they completed the course in 14 minutes 38 seconds with an average speed of 53.6 kilometers per hour, 19 seconds quicker than their closest rival Movistar team, who turned back the clock, rolled back the years in their team time trialling ability. Bora Hansgrohe with a 3rd place. Bahrain victorious finish 4th, and their rivals from the Persian Gulf, the Emirati team UAE, finish in 5th. Jumbo-Visma take the lead. And with Affini not in this group finishing, Attila Volta coming to the line. It looks as though it is the Hungarian, former Maglia Rosa wearer at the Giro d'Italia, will be the new leader of the Vuelta Burgos, and tomorrow will pull on the purple jersey.
Yeah, dominant performance, wasn't it? From Jumbo-Visma, eyeing a clean sweep in the Grand Tours, and who would bet against them with Jonas Vingegaard going? A two-pronged assault for Jumbo-Visma. Roglic looking good. Interesting to see how his form is later in the week, especially when we head towards the final mountaintop finish of this race. But right now, Rob, they're certainly on course.
It's an interesting one. The rider like Volta taking over the jersey and what their plan will be going forward. This won't be the big aim for Primož Roglic, but we know how he likes to attack races. There was a conversation between Roglic and Tratnik. I wonder if there was somewhere inside Roglic there was thinking, do you know, if I could get my mate into first position and into the jersey, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Certainly after what he's been through.
Definitely. It's lovely to see it's lovely to see these little interactions between the riders. We don't often see them at these smaller races. There's a little bit more access for our cameras, isn't there, on the ground, to hear those snatches of conversation, to see the spirit that binds these teams together. I think it's a lovely element that we don't quite often see.
And we're seeing it here. We're also seeing on this camera shot a better appreciation of the slope to the line.
Yes, definitely. It's steep, isn't it?
So we'll bring you the podium in just a moment. At the end of a sunny afternoon in northern Spain. And here they are, north of Castilla León in the province of Burgos. It's the Vuelta Burgos and the 7 victorious riders from Jumbo-Visma. Primož Roglic, Robert Heesink, Koen Bouwman, Eduardo Affini, Gers Lemreze, Jan Tratnik and Attila Volta, who'll reappear in a moment to take the leader's jersey. That's something for Primož and co to drink at the end of, well, a large block. It's about to take on Vuelta España.
He's happy with his wine. I'd have been hoping, if I was one of the other members of the team, that they'd get one each. Maybe they'd have to draw straws to see who gets the big bottle of wine. But no.
They're not quite at the part of the season where they'll be drinking too much of that.
No.
You never know. Maybe a sip of it at dinner tonight.
I think just a small, just a half of the glass, just to get the flavour there, Rob. I think with a nice bit of local cheese.
Not if Richard Plugger's around, though, after what we saw at the Tour de France.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Jan Tratnik recording the moment for posterity.
Yeah, they came as the favourites for this race, really, didn't they? In the Team Time Trial anyway, and they certainly delivered there. Yeah, solid performance.
And there is that performance in numbers, 14 minutes 38 seconds over the 13.1 kilometres. Burgos Beache with a credible 10th out of the 15. Disappointing performances for the likes of Astana Kazakhstan and maybe even EF Education Easy Post. UAE Emirates will be disappointed given how it went. Certainly with how they were going at the bottom of the climb, but Movistar will be pretty happy about that too, you'd feel.
Yep. Yeah, Keep Kern Farmer will be, I think, very happy to finish within 47 seconds of Jumbo-Visma on the day. They can be proud of that, I think. Second division team, but yeah, I think, Movistar will be delighted. UAE and EF Education, maybe a little bit disappointed, but still relatively close. And we've got some very tough days coming up.
One team who you could perhaps put into the what on earth were we playing at category and ask serious questions, as you deserve, outside the top 10.
Yep.
Only just in front of 3 teams from a lower division. Here's the new leader. Attila Vuelta. Well, he's had a pink jersey on before, now he gets a purple one. Former leader of the Giro d'Italia. And this is his first big leader's jersey now, coming into Jumbo-Visma colours. Hungarian national champion. Now the leader of the regional tour here in Burgos.
Looks relaxed, looks happy. He's always a rider that's shown so much potential, had obviously some very good years with Groupama FDJ, but joining the ranks of Jumbo-Visma has really taken a distinct step up this season.
He's been a stage race winner overall on one occasion in his career. That was at his native Tour of Hungary 3 years ago. He's in the lead here, look at that, his teammates are as well. This is the general classification, and Jumbo-Visma, well, they're spoiled with options. Volta, Tratnik, Baumann, Roglic, all up there in the top 4 positions. A 13-second lead on Garcia Cortina, who won't be a factor at the end of this, given the fact that we've got to climb to Lagunas de Neila later on in the week. King of the Mountains remains the same. There were no points yesterday, so it was a good jersey to get hold of for Xavi Berasategui.
There's 6 climbs tomorrow toward the mountains points, including an all-category climb as well, so a punchy day for the KOM tomorrow.
There are barely any easy days, but the easiest day on paper was day 1. Big climbs tomorrow, a huge stage on Saturday, bit of in-between coming up on Friday. Race will finish as usual at Lagunas de Neila. Finish we've had even in the big one, the Vuelta a España, down the years as well. Well, Ángel Fuentes is here.
Daily appearance?
I was going to say, are they giving him a different prize, or is this just the best Burgales rider? Let's see.
I think this must be the best Burgales prize again, wasn't it?
Well, actually, he's the best Castellano-Leonés. There we go.
Oh, okay.
A slightly bigger catchment of riders. Castilla León is the autonomous region in which Burgos is situated. Burgos is a province of that region. So if you imagine everything north of Madrid, not including Valencia, Catalonia, Aragon on the east, until you get to sort of the border with the Basque Country, Asturias, Galicia, it's that section on the centre north of Spain that is Castilla León. It's one of the biggest regions in the whole country, but it is very, very sparsely populated in areas. So there you go, the best Castellano-Leonés.
Yeah, of course it does have its own tour as well.
It does. 2 days long this year, wasn't it? Just the other day. Here's the best young rider. Now Oyer Lascano. He's recovered, thankfully. Took a while, didn't it?
Certainly did. Like pretty much everybody today, very deep for his team. To wear that, I wonder if he can choose. Well, he's leading, so he will wear that tomorrow over his Spanish national jersey.
Lascano 11 seconds ahead of Lipovic. Sambanini down in 3rd place. Buitrago still qualifies for that in 4th. Sean Quinn down in 5th, who had the jersey today at the start. Expect much bigger time differences all over the place tomorrow.
Adelante ya, todo tuyo. Ese más combativo, siempre. No nos acordamos más que todos de la gran actuación que lo brindaste en el Campeonato de España. Ahí en San Lorenzo del Escorial. con el premio especial también de la combatividad al director del equipo Movistar.
Combativity prize goes to Movistar as well today. A really good team time trial from them. Only Jumbo-Visma better, and well, we know how good Jumbo-Visma are. UAE Tour, Paris-Nice, slightly different lineups, but here they pulled it off as well.
Oh, definitely. 19 seconds shy of the time of Jumbo-Visma.
He said they went for it.
Porque por lo que nos han dicho por la radio estaban marcando muy buen tiempo en el intermedio.
We were going really good at the intermediate time check. We worked really hard on the time trial. I was third in the Nationals, and I think today's a really good result for us. And all that work now and all the seeds that we've sowed, we're managing to take the crop.
Vosotros estabais marcando 7:06 por la mínima.
Is the leader.
Yeah, it was close to perfection how we did the race today. Of course, we wanted to use really well to prepare for the Vuelta. The team wanted to use this day, and I think we did perfect with that. And yeah, I enjoyed really with the guys. I did lots of time the individual time trials, but this is a big difference because now you are here as a team, so you can rely on others, and it's also the others who make you suffer a lot. So it's really tough. It's really demanding, especially with riders like Edoardo Affini or Primoz Roglic, who can put you in the limit. So we managed well, I think, and especially these two riders, they put a lot of effort. But I think all of us as a team, we did really nice, and yeah, I'm super happy with this victory. I think it will be really hard because we have this one strong rider called Primoz Roglic, and it's hard to keep him away. But yeah, I would be happy if he could win it, and still my role is to help him in this race. But yeah, I'm super proud and happy just to have this jersey in one race. It's my first time this year that I'm leading in a race. So yeah, I will enjoy tomorrow in the jersey, but I will help my team, and my role is unchanged. But yeah, I will hope to finish also quite in the front with Primoz winning the race, but I think I can also finish quite well in the front. So let's see how this is going, and yeah, just want to enjoy this day today and also tomorrow. Thank you.